everybody. I'm Bonnie Barker with Bonnie Babe Crochet. This is take two. And I'm here with a very good friend of mine. I just learned how to say her name properly, Brenda Bourg. If you look at the spelling, it looks like Borg, but apparently a lot of people get that wrong, including moi. So this is Brenda Bourg, and she's a really sweet friend of mine. I met at a Crochet Guild of America or CGOA conference many years ago. I don't even know how many years ago, but it's been a while. I mean, I'm guessing 7 or 8 years. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was either Charlotte or North Carolina, and I don't remember which.
I think it was. You weren't in Greensboro.
It could be in Indianapolis too, though, because I remember we did the fashion show at Indianapolis. So.
Yeah, I wasn't in Indianapolis, so that must have been another one. It could have been New Hampshire, or North Carolina. Guys, it gets confusing.
They all run together after you.
They all do. Yeah, it's kind of like a friends meetup for crochet, and it's a fun thing to do. Well, Brenda, tell us a little bit about yourself. What would you like to start with?
Oh goodness, that's a big question.
But
I love to crochet.
From? I'm sorry.
Where am I from? I grew up in Wyoming.
Whoa.
Yeah, very desolate, empty state of Wyoming. There's not many people there. I was one of them. My family, they were pioneer people. They actually were one of the first to settle in South Dakota, North Dakota, and Wyoming. So,
it's like Little House on the Prairie kind of stuff.
Oh, 100%. And my great grandparents, from my grandma's side, I always brag about this. I'm sorry, but they were both from Ireland, and both families had bought land, one in North Dakota, one in South Dakota. I don't know how they met, but my great grandparents were both very Irish, and they ended up in South Dakota together. So,
wow.
And yeah. So
that's very cool. I just found out we might be related. Who knows? Because I just found out I'm about 33 and a third Irish myself. Surprise, surprise.
You could be cousin.
Yeah. I mean, so I had some Irish people and a lot of Germans got together, and here you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Because Ireland is so small, we could be related. Seriously.
It's a beautiful island. I love to visit there. Well, tell us when you first began crocheting.
I do not remember. I do remember as a little girl, my great grandmother eventually ended up having to live with us. She sold the ranch, and eventually ended up living with my grandparents. And in her wheelchair, she would sit there and crochet. You remember the corkscrew? Maybe they weren't popular when you were a little girl, but they had long corkscrew curl ribbons. Yeah. And I wanted, at that time, my mom kept my hair like an inch long because she hated my curls. I mean, she could control them. She could not, it's like, it was a nightmare for her. So she just kept them short. Well, Grandma made me these beautiful long crocheted corkscrews, and I never got to wear them. And from then on, I was kind of determined I was going to learn how to make my own so I could grow my hair out and wear those.
Aww.
So it was it was a really good example on her creativity, because I don't think she did it from a pattern. She would sit there and make stuff all day long, and I don't recall her ever using a pattern.
Wow.
So
do you enjoy other fiber arts besides crocheting?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
Time. Well, I bought one of the little electric e-spinner, and I'm allergic to all wool and any sort of animal fibers.
Oh, bummer.
So, yeah, it makes it really difficult to find something to work with. And so, my husband was so sweet. We went to the Estes Park Wool Market, because I'm from Colorado, and they had silk. And okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't walk away from silk roving. It was a gorgeous purple, and it fit me perfectly as far as my taste. So I went ahead and picked it up, and I do have a drop spindle. And normally you can spin with a drop spindle with all kinds of fibers, but silk is so short as far as the fibers that using the drop spindle is really, for me, it was really hard. I kept dropping I gave up I put it in a bag and it was still in my closet. Well, the e-spinner came out and I was able to actually spin some yarn out of it.
Oh.
It's still sitting on it up there. And then for Christmas this year, my husband gave me a loom. So I'm learning to weave. So I have so much cotton. You know, when you're a designer and you design cotton with cotton, you end up with a lot of cotton.
Well,
and so it's really kind of cool to be able to weave with cotton.
Well, so let's just talk about the allergy for a minute, because I know there are a lot of people out there who are also allergic to wool, and
Right.
and so you're recommending so the alternate fibers would be silk,
Yes.
cotton, and
Yes.
I'm guessing acrylics
And linen. Yes.
Okay.
Now there's a place for each one of those, because cotton, I do use once in a while if I get it requested from a magazine or whoever, I'll use cotton for an article of clothing. But cotton really grows. And you have to really factor that into your design, which makes it really hard to design.
Can you explain what you mean by it really grows? Because there might be some newbies out there to fibers,
right? They don't know.
And they don't understand what does that mean. She just said it grows. Does it like grow roots? I mean, just just try to tell us what that means.
I felt like it.
Yeah.
I made a top that actually turned into a dress once. And that was like probably the second time I'd made an article of clothing out of cotton yarn. And the first time the cotton I had used was a much finer weight. I think that contributed. Was it since it was so tightly spun and it didn't tend to grow. And growing means that your size will end up you will end up with something that is way bigger, and you cannot block it back. It's not like wool. Wool, you can block it back to the right size. Cotton, once it's grown, that's the size it is. It's going to stay that way. And I did that with a top. It was something I was designing, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is like 15, I'm not joking, 15 inches longer than it should have been. And I was like, oh my goodness, of course it wasn't mercerized. Mercerized cotton won't grow like that, because it's the way it's been treated and spun, and it's finer. When you start getting into the heavier weights and the ones that aren't mercerized, oh my goodness. They make great dishcloths. I mean, great hand towels, but I do not recommend them for clothing at all. Bamboo's fantastic for clothing too, by the way.
Well, that's very helpful. I mean, we could probably talk the whole time just about that. I got a book this thick that I'm starting to go through on fibers, and I thought I knew a little bit about yarn, but I stand corrected.
I know.
I'm looking forward. I mean, it's just I'm going to be learning about this for the rest of my life, and I'll probably still just be scratching the surface. But I want to find out more about you, because I want people to get to know you better. What most inspires you, either personally or as a creative crochet designer?
Oh, probably, this is going to sound crazy, Estes Park. I mean, seriously, that's why we go up there so often, is because I take like a million photos. My phone is totally full.
And that's in Colorado.
So we're like half an hour from there, but it takes an hour to get up there because of the roads, the mountain roads. Right. But there's so many cool shops that are very artsy. There's so many wonderful people there that are just, it's not a weird place, put it that way. Right. It's just, you've got a nice mix of really cool art, but really old country ranch.
Oh, wow.
And I love that. It's just, you're down to earth, and steamboats like that, but steamboats like quite a bit of ways that would be an overnight trip, so Estes is just, let's go spend the afternoon up there. Wow. And even if we don't go into the shops, which I love to do, I love to look, there's so many artists up there. Oddly, most of the stuff up there is glass blown art or glass blown. It's like you wouldn't expect that, but they're fantastic.
Wow.
There was a globe there that I wanted the other day when we went up there, and it looked like the Earth. I mean, it just blows you away. And I come home and I want to make this, and I start, having to make notes of everything I've seen and wanted to do.
Yeah.
You
Wow.
know, and same with the wildlife. You go up there. There's turkeys. We haven't seen a bear yet. Everybody else has, but we've not seen a bear. But we've seen moose, we've seen elk, we've seen deer, so that's God's creation, you can't top that.
That's cool. Yeah, I'd love to see that. Maybe if I get a chance to go to Yarn Fest this year, maybe I can stop by and
100%.
We can do that.
Yes.
I just any excuse to go to Colorado, I jump at it. When did you get interested? Well, let me tell everybody. Brenda has authored, I guess, many articles, but in particular, a book on Tunisian crochet. So I wanted you to tell us a little bit about the book, if you can, and just wonder how you got interested in Tunisian crochet.
It just happened. I just saw some. I knitted. I learned to knit so I could make socks, and I love the snowflake. The Scandinavian snowflake design has always been my favorite design for any top. You go shopping for sweaters and stuff. I was always drawn to that. So I wanted to learn how to do that. And those were the only 2 reasons I wanted to learn to knit. I know that sounds weird, but
nope. I got to show you something. I got to show you something here. I have to take it out of my bag because I put it in something so it would be safe. I'm actually starting my first, I know this, talking about Brenda, but I'm starting my first sweater and
nice.
And working on some color work. This is the bottom of the sweater, but it's going to have this amazing yoke if I figure it out properly. But it's one of those, going to those places like you described in Estes. I remember going to a place near the Appalachian Trail, near Helen, not too far from Helen, Georgia. And I saw sweaters like this in a shop, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so gorgeous and so expensive.
You need to make your own.
This was back in my college days, where you just didn't have $100 bills growing on trees. But, I'm finally to the point where I can maybe do it. So I am on my way, but I have not conquered anything like the snowflakes that you're talking about.
Well, it's kind of a funny story though, when you mentioned that, we were broke and couldn't buy that. Well, I asked Rob, because this marble that looked like the globe was like $600. So I asked Rob, but yes, I know. Turned and I asked Rob, I said, can I take a glass blowing class? And he looked at me and he said, absolutely not. Because I cut myself all the time. He said, there would be nothing left of you if you took the class. So I thought that was kind of funny, because he just was like, as much as you want to learn how to do it, I'd rather buy a marble than pay for your injuries,
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah. At least you can't get hurt, with knitting or crochet unless you accidentally get on your needles or something.
Totally.
Yeah,
it wouldn't have gone well. He's like, that would not end well. I'm not paying for that. And it's like, okay, well, I probably shouldn't either. So, but anyway, Tunisian though, what I did was I took everything that I knew from knitting and what I knew from crochet, and it kind of fit with Tunisian because you can do the knit stitch. And once I found the knit stitch in Tunisian, it all kind of clicked, because I was thumbing through a book that had a bunch of charts that you could do in knitting. And it's like, wow, I can actually knit these in Tunisian, I think. So I ran upstairs, I got my books out, my hooks out and some yarn, and started knitting them. And I'll be darned, it worked. I had no problems at all. There was, even when you do the back pass, it didn't mess up it wasn't like trying to do lace. I have yet to find a way you could do knitted lace, but I don't do knitted lace well anyway. So maybe there is a way and I just haven't figured it out. But for me, there are certain techniques I can really do very well because I can visualize them. Whereas knitted lace, I can't. And Tunisian, I could visualize how the color work would work well in Tunisian.
So it's Fair Isle Tunisian
crochet.
Okay, by Brenda Berg.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have to relearn that. I have visualized your name and vocalized it the other way so many times. I'm gonna have to um, do some relearning and retraining those ruts in my brain.
I
Um,
understand that. Thank you.
so do you have a preference of either Tunisian or knitting at this point?
Oh, Tunisian.
Crochet, you like Tunisian crochet?
Oh, I love Tunisian. I really do. I am so excited that it's gaining popularity right now. I just finished a shawl for a yarn shop up in Cody, Wyoming, and or actually a yarn dyer up in Cody, Wyoming, and I just posted it Monday, and it sold on Monday, which
Cool.
in our design world is
Yeah.
that's when you post a design and it starts selling the first day. That's
Yeah.
a good day.
Yeah, if it's not on
So
YouTube and it's selling, that's amazing. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, I
Yeah.
did no promoting at all. I mean, because I just left it alone. It just because I got busy, life happened, and I forgot, So I was really surprised when I opened up my email and went, "Oh wow!" So Tunisian is taking off,
Yeah.
thankfully.
Well, good. Let me just say to anybody viewing this that if you are interested in Tunisian, let me know, because maybe I haven't talked with Brenda before this, so maybe I can work a deal where maybe I can do one of your designs. If I don't know how that would work. I'd have to talk with your publisher, but I've had some success. Kind of having the design, but then pointing to the book. Sometimes
Right.
that can
That'd be awesome.
can get the attention drawn to your work. And I definitely am all about supporting a fellow crochet designer, and just especially if it's work that I really love. And I did do one design from your book. I did the headband with the hearts on it.
Oh yeah.
But
I love that one. Yeah.
yeah, I think I'd like to try that one again. I used cotton in
Mm-hmm.
that, and as you know, we could talk
It's
more about the
yeah.
cotton is just not, it's just too stiff. I needed
Right.
some yarn with more give. um,
Right.
so I was like, I was just using yarn from my stash.
Yeah.
I probably should have checked. I probably should have just used some wool, but it was quite easy to do that, and you could see the hearts and everything. I thought, wow.
That's fun, isn't it? Once you
Yeah.
start to see how it grows and the different. And the thing that I wanted to say about that is I did have to use a lot of cotton and bamboo in that book simply because of,
Your allergy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And also some, some yarn companies were unable to work together at that time. So I had to use what I used, which I loved the yarn companies. They were awesome.
Yeah.
But I should have went more with more acrylics, to be honest with you, since I can't work with other fibers. I'll tell you, if I would substitute acrylics in, if you can't afford wool, if you can't wear wool, if you don't like wool, acrylics, because acrylics do have the same properties that wool has.
And they last
And
forever.
it does, and they
They
come
do.
in gorgeous colors. And there's just, I'm not a snob. I can't afford to be a yarn snob. So to me, it's just whatever I can use, I'm thankful for. And the acrylic I have found, I don't think I've found a pattern yet that I couldn't use acrylic to substitute in for wool, so, or any other animal fiber. And from everything I've researched, and they don't, I've read books on it and stuff, and at the end, a lot of them will say all you really need is acrylic. So it's like, okay, you've read all this material,
Yeah.
and come to find out, the only substitute you really need to know is it's okay to use acrylic to substitute in.
Yeah.
So that's helpful. That's been helpful for me, because
Yeah.
once I found that and I realized that, it was like, oh my gosh, it made a big difference on what I could make. Because I stayed away from tops, I stayed away from anything that well, even like long sweaters, cardigans, that kind of stuff, because you don't want it down by your knees.
Yeah. And thing that I didn't realize until I made it was something that never went to publish, never went to print, but I experimented making some cotton sweaters, like Aran chunky stitch sweaters. And I said this in the interview I had with Jennifer Ryan about a ways, but oh my goodness, these things it felt like they weighed 10 pounds. I mean, if you got caught in a rainstorm with one of those things, or in the snow, because, cotton absorbs water,
Yep.
whereas, well, I'm getting too deep here, but all I wanted to say is that even just the fiber alone, cotton is generally a heavier fiber. If you have two scans of the same weight yarn, and you put them side by side, and you put them on your little scale, your little postal scale, you'll find that the cotton is going to weigh more yard per yard than acrylic, and certainly more than wool. Wool is very light, and I read recently that wool can hold like almost 10 times its weight in water.
Wow.
I could be wrong on the 10, but it's like a multiple of its weight. I think it's between 5 and 10 times its weight. It can absorb the water and still have the person wearing the garment feeling dry because it wicks away.
That's something.
Yeah, wool is amazing, and it's a natural fire retardant, which I don't think some of these other I'm getting.
No, not at all. You would burn.
Yeah, acrylic you would just melt with it, but in cotton is burn baby burn. But,
cotton is horrible for it. You want to start a fire, have it?
Oh yeah, we don't need to go there. That's another deep end of the pool. A 2-hour discussion. And we probably should involve the fire department because they know. But the book that I'm reading about these yarns has information about its flammability. So I'm very, very interested in that, especially, on another subject, baby clothes and stuff like that. But anyway, I want to get back to, I wanted to find out, okay, do you have a favorite crochet design that you have made? Or is that like asking to pick out your child?
My favorite would be my sweater that I made for the book, the chorus sweater. It was so much fun to make. It looks so much harder than it is. And although I did have to redo it a few times because my daughter-in-law was actually the model for that book. And I was kind of annoyed the photos didn't make the book. She has cerebral palsy. She uses the crutches. She is definitely disabled, and it kind of upset me that the photos weren't included because I wanted it to be in there and to show that we're all different. And she wore it. And my sweet little daughter-in-law is 4'11", and every time I see that beautiful sweater on her, it just melts my heart because number one, it's beautiful, and number one, she looks like a little Barbie. I mean, she's so tiny, she's so pretty, and I think it's just the whole package of it that there's just so much love in that sweater.
Yeah, that's great. It's funny talking about your daughter-in-law, you said?
Right.
That's one reason that pushed me more and more into self-publishing.
Right.
I wanted to do some things like that, and was able to in my first book, Cable's Crochet. I think it's back that one right there. Cable Crochet Made Easy is one of the models I used. Was a dear friend of mine. I'm friends with her mom, but she's a little gal in our church, and she's in her 20s now, but she was born with Down syndrome.
Right. Oh yeah.
Beautiful girl. Oh my gosh. I mean, if you're having a bad day, you just need to go. Her name is Valerie, and you just need to go sit and talk with Val. And
our pastor's son was like that. Oh my goodness, he worked at Home Depot, and if you had a bad day, you would go and see that young man at Home Depot pushing the carts, because he would. It was his job to make people happy, and he literally saw that was his life's work, and it's beautiful, man.
I know they're really, people like that are such a gift to us, and they I think they show us how seriously we take ourselves and how we need to just lighten up and just stop and smell the roses and give thanks.
And quit worrying. Give thanks and quit worrying. Yes.
Yeah. Just look up, not in. Yeah. Do you have a favorite crochet gift that you may have received from someone?
That one is really difficult because our Christmas tree every year is just covered in ornaments from Rob's grandma, my great grandma, my grandma, my other grandma. I mean, and
Oh,
they're all knitted and crocheted. I mean,
wow.
it's just, I will never have this Christmas tree that is got the gold and the white and the, that's not me. You
Can,
know, me is homemade. We have needlepoint that we're family members have made. We've got, it's not, it would never be Christmas without all these beautiful things on the tree.
you don't have any older pictures like from a past Christmas that you could, so I could show some of the viewers? Or if
I
not,
might have
that's
some
okay.
bin in it, but I'll have to
That's
take a
fine.
look.
That's
I'll see
fine.
if I can find some.
Okay. And Ben is not her son, is her cat, right? Just,
No, yeah.
and he likes the
I'll send you
tree.
the photo of Ben trying to ride the Maserati. How's
Yeah.
that? We bought my grandson that blue Maserati, and Ben claimed it right away. That was going to be his car. And it's funny, their house wasn't big enough for all the toys we bought him. We did that on purpose. It's my grandson that we're talking about.
Okay.
And my grandson is just 18 months old. So, and we had very little toys for him here. So we bought a blue Maserati for him, and Papa went all day. And I tell you, Rob has never slept so hard after they went home.
Oh, wow.
And then Ben claimed the car. I mean,
Wow.
yeah. And Ben liked it because he could get up there and play with the ornaments. And like I said, our tree is usually covered in all these nice ornaments, and so it was quite the battle of get out of there. You know,
And made of yarn too.
And he loves yarn.
Yeah,
he actually learned to open the door to my studio. I have to keep it locked because he knows how to open it and get the yarn.
But when my daughter, I have two married kids, and they're both of those families have cats. And when my daughter Becky, she's on this program with me. Sometimes she does some moderating when she can, when she's not working, but she'll go into the restroom and close the door, and the cat will be pawing at the door trying to get at her or open the door. And I told her, I said, that's preparation for those years to become a parent, because you won't have any peace once that happens. I mean, in a good way. But yeah, forget any private moments, at least while the children are awake. So
I was going to say, while they were here, my grandson was doing that to my son. He kept trying to go in when my son was in there, and it's like, nope. My son was smart enough to lock the door.
Yeah.
But it was like, yeah, that's a parent.
Yeah, moms aren't allowed to lock the door, because if you too much can happen during that time.
Yep. Kids can be pretty wild.
Maybe this is too much information for people out there, but hey. You've written for Annie's for many years, and Annie's is the kind of the organization that owns Crochet World, which I talk a lot about on my channel.
Right.
And so what is your favorite crochet story you've gotten to write about, if there is one? And feel free to elaborate on anything you wish about your years writing for Annie's.
Gosh. Well, actually, to be honest, my favorite was promoting my friends. I just really, there were so many designers that just were so gifted that were a lot of times overlooked. And, you know, it just was an honor to be able to put them in there, put the spotlight on them. And because there were just a few rock star crochet people that many people didn't even know their names of. And that I wasn't thrilled with that. And when I had a chance to give everybody else a voice in a minute in the limelight so that they could make an impact on somebody else's life, I loved that.
Yeah.
You know, so I enjoyed that process of it. So,
yeah. Well, thank you for doing that, because that has really helped a lot of us out over the years, you know, and
well, it was fun. You guys were a lot of fun to learn about. I mean, that was what was so cool, was I learned a lot about stuff about you guys that, wow, that's really cool.
They do stuff besides crochet.
They leave the house. Wow, imagine that.
Yeah, I do things. Yeah, I crochet and I do stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
like Jennifer Ryan hiding the crochet rocks. I didn't know about that.
About the crochet rock covers.
Yeah, she hid them for people to find, and I didn't know about that. I think she was pretty new at doing that when I started writing about it.
Yeah.
but it was like everybody was really like, oh, that's so cool. And I was like, yeah, I felt so too, you know.
Yeah, that is, she has a lot of, very unique, and she's someone that if you want to learn more about Jennifer Ryan, if you look on this channel, there is an interview that we did this past summer that was released just about a month or two ago. So
right.
She's another one of my dear friends in the crochet world. And to be honest with you, I'll just talk a little about this. I would not have ever met Jennifer or Brenda Berg had I not attended a CGOA conference or a fiber conference of some sort.
Right.
And, it just, I hope this continues. I always tell people, even if you don't have money for, the first time I attended, I didn't take any classes. I mean,
Right.
in fact, I had to stay with relatives and drive 45 minutes to the conference in Greensboro. And boy, am I glad I did that, because I met so many people and got to volunteer a little bit with some people who were doing the fashion show and stuff like that. And after that one time, I was hooked. I'm like, I don't care what it costs. I need
you start
to be
saving, right?
Yeah, I need to be there. I mean, just think of the money I saved in mental health. I mean, and it was just very invigorating for my design process. It just kind of opened up, my mind a little bit. And even if you're not going to design, but just to have a vacation. I mean,
the friends you make too.
The friends,
I mean, I think that has been the biggest thing for me. We're walking away with, we may have nothing at all in common except crochet.
Yes.
But crochet was enough to, oh my goodness, you could spend hours just sitting with somebody talking, over technique, over whatever, and it just, crochet can actually do an awful lot for a community. And I wish that there were more programs, because it's a lot of fun.
I think that's where the internet has really helped us too, is to connect with people. I tell you, and if CGOA ever, if anything ever changes there, I hope that continues on indefinitely. But if not, we got to do something. I mean, we've got to have a way to get together and meet, especially once this pandemic is over. We've got to have a way to get real FaceTime, real time one-on-one and group things going. So I just wanted to encourage you all out there.
Personal contact, I agree.
Yeah.
There's something that you can exchange emails, you can do Facebook messaging, you can do whatever, but there's something that really matters when you're sitting right next to somebody and you're looking at their work and they're looking at your work and you're both just going, wow, that is just really beautiful. Wow, I didn't know how to do that. And I learned so much just from sitting beside people and watching how they did stuff.
Yeah.
And, even you didn't even have to take a class, Margaret.
I encourage people, if you can take a class, do. I mean, I'm not saying don't take classes. That's
right,
don't hear that. But especially if I'm teaching, please take my class. Or if Brenda's teaching, please take her class. But
and you sing. I mean, why? You get a class and a show. I mean, that's
what now?
So cool. You also play the guitar, so and you sing with it, so you get a class and a show.
Well, those are the breaks. I tell people, it's like, okay, I don't want anybody dying of a blood clot on my watch, because the classes are like either 3 hours long or 6 hours long. If you take a 6-hour class, we do let you eat lunch. Okay, so that's where we do allow you to consume food. Or they call it nutritional interval. But anyway,
oh wow, that's funny.
But yeah, every hour or so, I would set my clock and we'd stand up and we'd sing a really silly song to make you feel really dumb and embarrassed, but just to try to get you up and moving, and the parody stuff, and 2 minutes, and then we're back down to business. It doesn't cut into the time, but I'm afraid some of my neighboring teachers were not real crazy about that, but oh well.
They weren't the ones you were teaching, so
yeah, it was kind of funny. Is some of the people in the other class came to me later and they said, you guys were having a lot more fun over there than we were. And I'm like, yes.
Funny. It's like, oh, they'll be in your class next time.
Yes, it's like, yeah, come take my class. I mean, and we'll try not to sing too loudly. Didn't mean to disrupt anybody else, but if it, kept you from falling asleep in the other classes, you're welcome.
Well, I know the year that it was Portland was the last time I got to go. I just stood outside your class.
I didn't know.
It was fun. It was good. I know I was talking to one of the ladies that had taken some of your classes earlier, and she was sitting outside your class just to hear it too. So it was like,
this is the first time I've heard that.
We were all waiting just to hear Bonnie get her guitar out, and because it was so much fun. I mean, we really enjoyed it. So teachers do really go out of their way, to make sure that you get not just a learning experience, but you have fun. Yeah. That's kind of the whole point.
I had drawings for freebies, and I don't know that I can do that again this time because I carried a ton of stuff, and it cost me a lot of money to ship things back and forth. On that.
Are you coming to Denver?
What's that?
I'm gonna lean forward a little bit. Are you coming to Denver?
I'm hoping to. I'm still waiting to hear who's going to be teaching, if I'm going to be teaching there or not. Okay. Although if I'm not teaching, it might even be more fun because I'll have more time. I'll have more time. Because if I do teach, I'll be teaching. They want you to teach, 12 to 16 hours of teaching time, which would be fine. I would love that. But if not, I'm hoping to be able to go. But I'm waiting to see where we are with the vaccines and
well, I want to ask you too, did you know where it's going to be this year? I know it's Denver, but Denver where? Denver. I've not heard yet.
I'd have to look it up. I haven't heard a lot more detail. I think it's at the same hotel it was supposed to be booked for last year, but but I
didn't know where that was. So
yeah, I'll get back to everybody on more details. Yeah, as they come forth. I haven't made any plans yet. I lost, I don't remember exact figure, but I bought 2 plane tickets and a prepaid rental car that I've lost from last year. So I'm a little hesitant to pre-invest in again until I'm absolutely sure this is really going to happen. And I would have had, it's not the airline's fault. I would have been able to travel within the year, but of course, this mean virus has us all still where I can't really travel. Yeah. I don't want to, I can't really travel anywhere on a plane. It's just not, being a caretaker with my mother-in-law, it just doesn't work. Yeah. No,
well, it's too bad they won't
being safe. Yeah. Well, let me ask you, where would you like your writing gifts to take you? Where would you like to take your writing gifts in the future?
Oh, in a book. I want to do a book, obviously. But I'm really not wanting to do another crochet book. Mm-hmm. Tunisian crochet maybe, but I'm leaning more towards I want to write for the Lord. I know people aren't really into that, but I am.
A lot of people are actually. A lot of crocheters are. Yeah. I'm
actually taking some classes right now, and it covers anything from devotionals to biblical romance stories, courtship, that kind of stuff. And it's a year-long course I'm trying to figure out which direction my writing needs to go. I've found out that beside crochet for me, I think was kind of a way for me to find my real gift. And it turns out writing was my real gift. Even though I can design.
I say, yeah, you got some pretty amazing design gifts too.
People say that, and I don't believe them. I know that's hard to understand, but I've had a lot of people tell me that. I'm just going, okay, which one? I mean, because to me, they all look normal.
Yeah.
So thank you. I really appreciate that. But my joy really does come from the writing. Mm-hmm. And I enjoy writing devotionals. I enjoy helping people. Encouragement's one of my bigger gifts. And I I got tired of Facebook, I'll be honest. I jumped off because I just didn't want it anymore. And for the last several years, I've been on Instagram. I'm not there right now, so you won't be able to find me there. But I did like to write short, encouraging Instagram posts that would always went with a Bible verse, because it was, and I would wake up with, and this is going to sound really weird to those who don't walk the path. But
We're all crocheters. I mean, we're
yeah,
none of us are in the normal spectrum, okay?
well, but
In a
for
good
me,
way.
I would always wake up, I would read my Bible, and there would always be a Bible verse that would stand out to me. And it would be like, oh my goodness, I have to write about this. And I know what I want to write about this. And it wasn't something that I had to struggle or stress over it. And that's when I really realized it's a gift. It's not something that, because designing for me was a little harder. It was like, spend pouring hours over stitches, pouring hours over, and then second guessing yourself. You know, ripping out, starting over, ripping out, starting over. So it was like, I knew long term that this was something I will always do because I do enjoy it. And I'll put new designs out a few times a year. But my real gift is in writing, because your gifts usually come out with, if it's a gift, it's something that comes out naturally. I mean, it's going to come out of you because it's who God created you to be. Well, that's kind of what writing was. I would get up in the morning. I would at night. This would drive my husband nuts. It still does, by the way. I have a journal, and I will. It may be almost midnight. I'll pop up out of bed because either I've had a dream, and I'm not talking about some weird dream. I'm just talking about I had a dream that woke me up, and all of a sudden I had the name for the title of the next post or the next whatever. I wrote it. Had to pop up, write it in my journal, and go back to bed. Yeah. Because if I didn't, it would keep me up all night while I'm thinking about what I write. And I would get up in the morning, look at that, and automatically I would know what to write. So sorry, I know this is way off crochet.
No, that might encourage somebody else. And I know that whenever, people try crochet, like beginners with me, and I always tell people, if this doesn't work for you, it's okay. Find something that does, and that ignites that fire. And like writing is even more so for you. I think that's wonderful. And we need good writing out there. I mean, a lot of people think they can write, and maybe they should try crocheting instead. But
totally.
That's we need good.
Well, we need solid. We need solid, biblically solid teaching.
Yeah.
I don't mean to sound like I'm so much better than others, because I'm not.
No. That
still learning.
I don't think you do. I mean, I think that's just a misunderstanding. People think that people who read the Bible think they're better. It's actually just the opposite. They are very much aware of for me, it's like, no, it's a beggar telling another beggar where they can find bread.
100%. Oh, that is the perfect way to put it too. Yeah. And unfortunately, I think we have a lot of writers out there that think they know way more than they already know, and they don't know. And it's kind of hurtful it's kind of hurting people's growth.
Yeah.
Because if you have all the answers, that's not good. You should still be growing.
Yeah.
We're kind of like a potted plant, Right.
What's interesting, a friend of mine, who was she used to homeschool her kids about the same time I was, and she had, these wonderful children, and her oldest daughter wanted to be a writer. So people would ask, what do you want to be? I want to be a writer. And her mom would look at her and say, that's a wonderful ambition. But she said, quite honestly, sweetheart, you haven't lived long enough to write.
Oh.
As far as, the wisdom and stuff, it's like, give live a while,
Right.
And not to say that you can't write if you're young. You certainly can. But if you're looking like what you're doing, I mean, you have gone around the block a few times. I mean, I'm not saying you're old. You've raised a family.
Okay, Bonnie, that's fine. That's fine.
No, I didn't use that word. I didn't say old. We both have. I mean, we've been through some things, and sorrow. Struggle. What it's like to be, she was saying earlier, being a military spouse with your husband being overseas.
Right.
I mean, you know what it's like to dig deep and during hard times. And that's what I mean, just having that kind of maturity.
It does change you, because I'm so different than what I was at 20. I mean, I'll be honest with you. If what I wrote at 20, and I have journaled my whole life. So you're right. You look back and it's just like, it's like crochet. I've told my daughter-in-law, because she's just learning, keep your early pieces. because by the time you're older, you're going to go back and go, wow, look at how much I've grown. And it's kind of the same way with writing, you know, it's like it's brick upon brick, you know, the more you learn, the more it grows.
And I feel like too, the older I get, the less I know. I mean, I used to do everything when I was in my 20s. Now I don't know anything.
Where's the car?
You know what I mean by that? It's just
we just replaced our car, and now we play Where's Our Car, because it's like we don't remember where we parked it. It's like, oh great.
Yeah. Well, but I was just thinking more on the wisdom side. You know, I used to think I had the world by the tail, you know, and I really had nothing, you know. And now, you know, I really sense, you know, that I'm not saying I'm a pillar of wisdom. I'm not saying that at all.
You do know stuff.
But I know stuff now, but I also realize that what I do know in comparison what I don't know is the gap is just a chasm that's so much bigger than I ever dreamed it would be. And it hopefully, you know, that will build.
Doesn't that blow you away? No, it really blows me away too. It's just like, wow, how little I knew. And I thought I knew a lot.
Yeah.
And boy, I was wrong.
Yeah. And
I was wrong.
Yeah, and I don't feel
yeah, no joke. No joke. But that's what, you know, that's what I love about life, though, I have to say, is that the older you get, and I always say this, I know it's an old saying, but if you're not learning, you're dying. And I firmly believe that. It's like, you know, for me, I had kind of run out of stuff that interested me. Now, if there's an editor and a magazine out there, please don't forget, I do still like crochet. I'm not saying I never want to crochet again. I'm just saying that for a while there it went dry. And so when you start drying up and running out of ideas, you start looking at, okay, God, what next? Because clearly this is a sign that maybe I've run out of where I'm supposed to be. And either he'll refill that well, which he's done, or he points me in a new direction. So, and so far, that well hasn't been refilled. I mean, it has to trickle. I do have some, but it was pouring for a while. And now the writing is more of, that's where all the water is, you know, and so it does. And I love learning. And I will probably continue to learn through every year I take a class. Yeah, that's great. And I don't mean like a 3-hour class. It's usually months worth of classes because I like to learn. You know, I feel I had so many concussions when I was young that I feel like I missed out on a lot because I didn't comprehend it. And now a lot of the pathways in my brain have reconfigured to where my understanding and my retention is back to what it should be. And I can read stuff and remember it. I can, you know, and so now it's like, I want to learn. You know, when you've spent years not being able to retain how frustrating that is, you know. And when you can, boy, you don't take it for granted. It's like you just want to soak it all in.
Yeah, I just wish I could go, you know, like when I was in school, I think it was great learning stuff, but I just felt like they had so many things going into the brain at the same time, and it's such a fast clip, you know. So when I've been able to go back and like teach my kids, you know, things like algebra, for example, it clicked with me, you know, third time through. It's like, you know, and I've been using that now in my design process for many years. So it's just kind of like,
I only learned it until I started designing, and I took it 3 times in high school, not because I failed it, but because I didn't understand it, and it made me mad that I didn't understand it. I kept getting C's. I was getting A's and B's and everything else, even though I had the concussions. And for some reason, algebra, I'm a perfectionist, and it annoyed me to no end that I just didn't understand it. I could get the grades, but to me, that wasn't enough. It was like, I want to know the why behind the how.
Yeah.
And now I know.
Sometimes it's like watching a good movie for the second or third time. You pick up things that you understood the movie the first time, but it's like, you know, you're getting more. Oh, I didn't see the premonition here, and you know, the foreshadowing, and so you're able to see more. Well, let me ask you one more crochet question, even though we know that you're transitioning more to writing. Is there one thing that you would maybe like to design that you haven't yet, whether practical or impractical?
Oh, I absolutely. And I've actually submitted a book proposal. It got accepted. I just didn't make it through the final negotiations because I said no to the terms.
Okay.
And it was a very special way of making Afghans. And it would have been a very cool book.
Is this something that you would consider self-publishing at some point?
Yeah, which is why I don't really want to give away the whole topic on it.
Don't.
Because it's like I have a lot of people invested yarn in me, and it is one that I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
And it's something I'd really like to continue because heck, I could use up half my stash on it, you know. And,
Wow.
and of course, we all need more stash, right?
We all need more stash busters that actually work. You know, something that you're going to want to use. I mean, it's one thing to just use up yarn for something, but if it's something that's, you know, if it's Brenda's design, I'm sure it's going to be gorgeous. But well,
I had 22 designs. I mean,
let's hope it works. Yeah, let's
yeah.
Or maybe look for a publisher.
And well, I wasn't even going to look for another one after what happened.
Okay.
It was like, you know, not even a book. I may just do them piece by piece, and just because people may not want that many. And do you know how long it would take to do 22 Afghans? I mean, yeah, you do. Never mind.
A long time.
Yeah,
it's a lot of repetitive motion. That's a lot of all right. Well, thank you, Brenda. It's great having you with us today. And
well, thank you, Bonnie. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I wish you all the best.
Well, you too. You have a nice evening.
Okay, see you in Colorado.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.